There's something unsettling about long, dark hallways. Maybe it's the way shadows seem to stretch too far, or the way the darkness at the end feels like it's hiding something. Tonight's story is about a young woman who discovered that the shadows in her home were far from ordinary. This is the tale of the shadow at the end of the hall. Emma had just moved into her new apartment. It was small but cozy, with just enough space for her to feel at home. The first night was quiet, the city sounds muffled by the thick walls. But there was something about the hallway leading to her bedroom that made her uneasy. It was long and dark, always seeming just a little too empty, as if it was waiting for something or someone. That night, as Emma settled into her new routine, her phone buzzed with a message. She didn't recognize the number, but the message sent a chill down her spine. "Don't look down the hall." She laughed it off, assuming it was a prank. But the words lingered in her mind, gnawing at her. Against her better judgment, she looked down the hallway anyway. The hallway was just as she'd left it, empty and dark. But this time, the shadows seemed to shift ever so slightly, like something was just out of sight, waiting in the corners. She shook her head, brushing off the feeling as paranoia. But as she turned away, the shadows seemed to move, just a little closer. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt like something was watching her. She rolled over in bed, staring at the doorway to the hallway, and there, at the very end, was a shadow, too tall and too still to be anything natural. At first, she thought she was imagining it. She rubbed her eyes, blinking away the tiredness. But when she looked again, the shadow was still there. Only now, it was closer, just a little closer. Her heart raced as she sat up in bed, staring into the darkness, waiting for the shadow to move again. Emma couldn't take it anymore. She had to know what it was. She got out of bed, her bare feet cold against the wooden floor. Slowly she approached the hallway, her heart pounding in her chest. The shadow didn't move, but it didn't disappear either. It was just there, waiting. Just as she reached the end of the hall, the shadow moved, fast, too fast for her to react. It darted into the bedroom at the far end, disappearing into the darkness. Emma jumped back, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't alone in her apartment. Something was there, something that moved in the shadows. Panicked, Emma grabbed her phone and called her friend, trying to stay calm as she explained what was happening. But halfway through the conversation, the line went dead. All she could hear was static. Then a voice, barely more than a whisper, "It's behind you." Emma froze, her blood turning to ice. She didn't want to turn around. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, but she had to see. Slowly she turned, her heart pounding in her ears. The hallway was empty, but the shadow behind her was no longer just a trick of the light. It was real, and it was growing. The lights flickered, plunging the apartment into momentary darkness. And in that brief moment, the shadow lunged. It wrapped around Emma like a suffocating blanket, its form twisting and curling as it swallowed her whole. The last thing she felt was the cold, creeping darkness pulling her into the void. When the lights came back on, the hallway was empty once again. But if you looked closely, you'd see it. The shadow at the end of the hall, waiting patiently for its next victim. And once you see it, it's already too late. Thank you for joining me for tonight's terrifying tale. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling episodes. Tune in tomorrow for another scare. Just be careful when you walk down your own hallway tonight. You never know what might be lurking at the end.